Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author and a robot, and today we're going to be talking about maybe a little bit of a white pill, or just kind of a discussion of trad publishing and indie publishing, because I saw a tweet thread earlier this week and I wanted to discuss it with you guys, share some thoughts with you guys, and get your thoughts in return. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy this channel and what I do here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. We do get a little spicy here, but I try also to keep the ideas flowing, even when there's disagreement. Number two, if you would like to be featured on this channel, check out the links down in the description below. You've got Lamai and Fresh Meat feature. And number three, if you would like to roast my books, figuratively or literally, I mean, you can purchase them and put them on fire. That's fine. I will take that cash. But they are available at all of your favorite bookstores. With that said, let's get into the thread. I don't know anything about Amanda Rudder. I'm just going to say that straight up. And I think I'm just doing this because I think there is value in having this discussion, especially because I see so much shit talking, specifically with indie. And yeah, there's a lot of trash in indie, but let me tell you, let me let you in on a little secret. There's a lot of trash in trad publishing too. I have done reviews on a lot of trad publishing, and that goes from stuff like Karen McManus to freaking Clive Barker. The Red Gospels was a mess. I'm sorry for the hardship he went through while he was writing that, but that book was a mess. So Amanda Rudder says, completely understand. Am querying authors thinking that self-publishing might be easier, gets around those gatekeepers and all the mentions of not knowing how to sell your particular story. However, in order to self-publish, well, you need, at the very least, and we're going to get into these, and I don't think she's without merit in her opinions, but I also think that there are some things like that need to be dispelled about traditional publishing that make it also not better. It's not about artistic integrity. It's also just about marketing, and the marketing budget is really what makes any book sell. Give me like $50,000 of your marketing budget person, and we'll see if any of my books can get to the same level as yours. Pretty sure they can, because what really matters is the marketing budget. So number one, a good developmental editor is in your chosen age group and genre. These don't come cheap, and bear in mind, the really good ones are often booked several months in advance, thereby reducing the quick nature of publishing. Okay. I don't know which books specifically they're talking about, the good developmental editors, because I have a difficult time finding good books when I'm picking published books up. Maybe it's stuff like Outlander that's getting all the good developmental edits, but we know James Patterson's not getting developmental edits because those books just go through the grinder of the ghostwriters. Stuff like Alexa Dunn's new book, Pretty Dead Queens, is not getting a great developmental editor because the plot is nonsensical, the character actions make no sense, and the same can be said about Karen McManus's books. In some cases, a lot of these books that I have read don't even have the bare minimum of research, such as Alexa Dunn's new book, Pretty Dead Queens, by one of the big 5 publishers. They couldn't be bothered to check that minors can't be interrogated by the cops without a parent, guardian, and or representative present and being told. The parents have to be notified, but they couldn't even do this. So there are so many problems still in traditional publishing where it's just lazy, where I don't know if people know what they're doing, and I'm sure there are great developmental editors within the publishing houses. I'm just saying every developmental editor that you're going to get in a publishing house is not going to be great. Every book that comes out of the trad publishing is not going to be great. And so I think her saying this, yes, you do have to plan. Yes, they can be expensive, but a good critique partner will also get you there. I think what's more important than paying some random person to be a developmental editor is actually, this is what will make your book better. Cultivate real relationships with people who get to know you, who get to know your style, and who are also not afraid to tell you to your face what they think is wrong. Get people who want to know who you are, what you are, and how you write your stories. And when they look at your work and help you develop the stories, they'll help build it in the direction you're trying to go, rather than watering it down for either marketing purposes, which a lot of developmental editors will do because their job is to sell a book, not to create an art. And two, when you hire a random editor who doesn't know you and doesn't know your story, your developmental edits are going to go more in their style than in your style, because a developmental editor not attached to you, not concerned with you, is not going to care what your vision is or what you're trying to do. They're going to be looking at what is the most marketable, what are the hot points for whatever genre you're supposed to be in. And or they may try to just overwrite your entire voice with their vision because they don't know you. So cultivate friendships with your peers, with your author peers, to trade works. Don't take advantage of these people. but make meaningful relationships with people that you can trust, with people you want to work with long term, and get those as your developmental editors. You don't have to do this. But being with a trad publisher also does not mean your book is going to get the best trad publisher or the best developmental editor there is, and your book will not be without flaws. She says, a separate copy editor / proofreader can polish your final manuscript after edits are complete. You might think that you can get away with skipping this, but that will lead to many reviews talking about mistakes found in your novel rather than about the book itself. This is also true with trad publishing. When I picked up Alexa Dunn's new book, Pretty Dead Queens, I got it as a ARC copy from NetGalley, and in the front of that book it says, hey, this is not the final copy, things may change, there may be errors, and as I was reading, I did find copy errors, I did find type errors that are probably going to be fixed, maybe fixed by the time it goes published, I don't know, but just because you're going through a trad publishing house does not mean that you will have a clean copy. Again, you can use beta readers for this specifically, you can use a small group of peers that you trade stuff with who will find things, and you don't have to necessarily pay a copy editor or a proofreader. I think the biggest thing that the indie publishing community is missing is actually building small pods of communities where people are mutually invested and interested in the success of others. That is how you truly build this and make it doable for others. Everybody in the trad publishing business, many of them may love books, but they're also in it for the paycheck to themselves. If you build a small group of people that are willing to trade their services and their time with each other to see the success of others, that is where the gold is. That, and when you care about each other, you will build a much stronger work, period. I have, fortunately, some great people. Now, I have some people in my creative friends group that, one, they're never going to like the genres that I write, which is fine. I don't really care. But they're probably never going to read. I have a couple that will not read horror style stuff, and I have works that I would not thrust upon certain people because they're very intense. Cain and Abel, I'm never going to thrust that upon a lot of people because it is so intense and it's going to be so disgusting for so many people. Freaking maggots and dead bodies. But you still cultivate, you still trade, and you don't take advantage of your trade partners. If you start asking people to read your works, make sure that you make yourself available, that if they have work available, you will go and read their stuff in turn. If you only take, that is not how you build a relationship or a community. But if you're constantly trading with each other when you have availability, when you have time, and you're willing to do this for one another, you are going to come up with something strong, something golden, and something that the traditional publishing houses do not have because they're corporations. And y'all are passionate people. 3, you will need a good cover artist who can take your vague ideas and turn them into gold. Not only does it need to look good at a book size, but it also needs to look awesome as a thumbnail, since this is how most people will see it on your selling venue of choice. A good cover artist does not come cheap either. This is one area that you do not want to skimp, since the cover does a lot of your heavy lifting in terms of marketing and attracting readers. Be conscious of that you may have to wait months for a slot here too. I think this is also like scare tacticking. I mean, yes, it's true that you might have to wait for a while to do art. Right now I'm commissioning art for the Bodymore visual novel, and so that's taking months while we do 2 characters at a time. And then when I do that for Dead End Drive, it's going to take more time as I get characters 2 at a time. And it does take time, but again, and it can cost a lot of money depending on what type of story you're going for. If you're doing very generic candy books that are in a genre like super romance that are very just specific to the serialization, it's not going to be that difficult because you can go and study the market and see what's going on. If you want stuff that looks more like what goes into Barnes and Noble, or if you want more unique covers, that is going to take time. And I think, again, building relationships either with the same artists so you can use them again and again, or by making artist friends that you're trading work with. Again, you build a community, and you don't go, I'm going to build this community to take advantage of people, because you want to take care of each other at some point, especially maybe even early on if you have the money. Pay for stuff. Yes, always. But building relationships consistently, whether you're trading skills or you're paying somebody, is the most important thing you can do to be successful. What these publishing houses and agents do is they build relationships. They have ins with one another. That is what an agent is. An agent is a conduit, is a key into the publishing house. specifically for you, because nobody knows who you are, but they know who that person is, and that person is speaking on your behalf. So build relationships, build communities. That is what indie is missing, because everybody is trying to do their own things alone rather than helping each other. Everybody is so self-focused. Not everybody, because there are packets of groups of people doing this. Think of some of the more successful indie endeavors. It's people that do sales together. It's people that collaborate together and try to help each other with success. It can even just be talking about books, whether in a critical or positive manner, just sharing stuff. But sharing what you know and building that constant community that you can rely on is the most important thing, and it is what trad publishing has that indie writers don't have. Number 4, unless you fancy learning it for funsies, you will also need someone who can format an ebook in the best way to ensure that it looks professional and read well. This really isn't that hard, and I am always happy. I have videos on this channel about how to do formatting in Microsoft Word, which can be done in any word processor that exists, but I'm always happy to help people with formatting because it is so easy, and I don't know why people make this sound like it is so exceptionally hard. It's not difficult to do it for paperback, hardcover, or ebook. I don't know. This isn't hard. This really isn't hard. But yeah, I'll help just about anybody that wants that. If you know what you want it to look like. That is just the initial outlay to get to the point where you have a decent product. Now the real work begins, and this is the work that you as an author may or may not be suited for, the selling hustle, which is in fact the most difficult part. You need marketing materials, you need a good website, the coin for this unless you are skilled, and potentially you need decent author headshots. You need to start thinking about who you can ask to begin generating word of mouth about your books. I don't think you need an author headshot. There are a lot of authors who are without faces. You cannot just throw it up onto the Big River website and expect adoring readers to discover it themselves. Discoverability is something that trad publishers are still trying to work out in the more modern age of TikTok and ebooks. Yeah, discoverability is the difficult thing, which is why I run stuff like Fresh Meat Feature and why I do stuff like the Loin Stream, though the Loin Stream is more just a book club that specifically features indies. But discoverability is the big thing, and that's where I think a lot of indies go wrong too, is they just throw their thing up there and they don't tell anybody about it. They get a little bit self-conscious. I know I get self-conscious kind of trying to grift it, but I'm working on my grifting game to get people to buy it. I mean, all 3 of my books are on all of your favorite websites. Go check them out. A good time. But it is difficult, and it's difficult to get comfortable telling people to go check out your book. Also, what she's mentioning here is the lack of money. Money is the big thing, and that is what publishers have to offer that indies don't have right now. So take this back to community. Money and community. Give me the money, and let's see that indie books don't get to the same place that trad publishers do. And that you don't find more interesting ideas in indie than you'll find in trad, because trad has to fit a marketability standpoint, and they will sell out art for money, because it's a business. I'm not gonna ding them for it, but trad is a business. So she continues, you will need to build contacts. This may involve a newsletter or working hard on Twitter to involve yourself in ongoing conversations, not just shouting at people to buy your book or getting in the hands of indie book reviewers. Again, building communities. I say indie book reviewers because there are so many trad books published that often book reviewers still won't accept self-published novels because they simply can't keep up with existing reading workload. To be truly, and this should kind of be minimizing, I think, because there's not a huge difference between well-published indies and TradPub. There's a lot of stinkers in TradPub, but there is access journalism and access reviewers happening in trad, where you need to give it a positive review if you want to keep getting the books, and that's what bolsters a bunch of trash books to the top. To be truly successful self-published author, you need to be an author and a cover designer and a marketer and a salesperson and a statistician and someone who adores spreadsheets. Why do you need to adore spreadsheets? And possibly a website specialist. No, you don't, because freaking Wix lays everything out for you. You don't need, this is an over-exaggeration of somebody trying to make something sound much harder than it actually is in order to scare you, because none of these except for marketing is hard. Cover design is hard because you need that aesthetic eye and you need the skills to make the cover happen. But marketer is the hardest. Salesperson is pretty hard. Statistician, I'm not so sure about. I guess it depends on how much you want to get into the nitty-gritty details of the finances of everything. A good self-published book can take months to get to market if you do it right, and why wouldn't you if your book baby, it's your book baby that you poured your heart and soul into, so it deserves as much love given on the admin side. So I know that querying is hard and soul destroying, and I do understand, but self-publishing is not for the faint of heart, and if it means your book stays on sub a little longer, or you're willing to take a few more rejections before considering this route, do think about all sides and forgive all of the many typos in this thread. Don't care. Oh, one last thing. There are always the exceptions, mistakes on my behalf, and things I didn't cover. Some of these will be posted in the replies and quote tweets, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I do want to give her credit down here where I would say that self-publishing is a fabulous choice for the right author. Yes, so self-publishing or indie publishing is not a bad choice for the right author. I think authors that jump in with the expectations of getting rich quick and doing minimal work and thinking they can just put it out there and they are suddenly going to be some pop star go in with the wrong idea. And I think that also devalues all indies because it sets an idea for indie. If we look at the Handbook for Mortals, that was an industry insider of some kind, not specifically of book writing, but of Hollywood, who turned her screenplay into a novel. And then that book became infamous. And that book is what a lot of people think about when they think about indie publishing. And so if you rush and you don't take the time that you need, though granted, I feel like Handbook for Mortals wouldn't have had such an infamous reputation if it was trad published. And I've seen stuff that is pretty much like that has been trad published. But do take it seriously when you indie publish. I think that's the bottom line, is take it seriously. Know that it is a financial investment to some extent. It is a community investment to a big extent if you want to maximize your effect and you don't have trillions of dollars. And also keep in mind that this person themselves is a literary agent, and so it is in their best interest that you continue to subscribe to the traditional publishing model because they get paid when they pick up books. They get to determine what books they think others should read. So if you write risque stuff, by going around the gatekeepers, you are taking away their power. By going around them, you are taking away their entire job because they only get paid by representing you and selling your book. That is important to know. They do try to make this sound worse than it is, but personally, I would like to see more authors who are independent, who understand what they need to do, that understand these small things like formatting, like maybe bare minimum marketing, like maybe get together different ways to go through editing processes and figure out how all of this stuff works, so you don't have to be so reliant on these people that don't care about you and don't actually care about your work. They care about the money. They care about crafting this product and sticking it on the shelf, because I need it to get through that trad publishing does not guarantee quality. I've seen it so many times. And how many times do you even see it with movies that come through big studios and they're trash movies? They've got the budget, but they're trash movies because they're creating products. So something I said shortly after seeing this is somehow independent movies have credibility. Somehow independent music has credibility. Somehow independent games have credibility. Somehow independent comics have credibility. But the industry is fighting so hard against the credibility of indie books. And why is that? Some of them do suck. There are a lot of stinkers, especially when there is so little necessary to push your thing out there. But there are so many great, incredible, creative indie books that you would not see otherwise hit the mark. And I think the market's doing itself a disservice by not recognizing the vast experience and storytelling styles that are in indie that trad will never take a chance with, because right now they're too afraid to piss somebody off on some no-name. They will cancel you in an instant because of Twitter. So you're getting sanitization, and you're getting only what they think that they can sanitize to put on the bookshelves, and you're getting carbon copy stuff that barely makes sense because they just push it through, and the budget is what pushes the book to the top. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Looking forward to the discussion on this. Hope you have a great weekend, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross.
Is he in trouble?
We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer.
For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die.
Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Wei. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?